Hey, folks, I've been having so much fun doing these great interviews with celebrities, local heroes, and new celebrities from what you're about to see. This guy, he is the most talented combination of a guy I've met in a long time. Excellent speaker, incredible musician, great singer, and truly one of the funniest people I've ever met. Welcome to the show, Woody Robinson. How you doing, Woody?
Thank you, Brent. Always an honor and pleasure to be wherever you're at. Whatever you're doing, I just want to be the sidekick, my man.
Well, when I met you, we were fast friends, and we already formed a band before we left the airport. You're a Mango, and I'm the Rambling Man.
That's
and
true. But people were trying to get autographs because you look like Kiefer Sutherland in the airport. So I'm like, yeah. So I just called you Kiefer around everybody. So that was
well, to bring people up to speed, Woody, we were in the airport going to Egypt.
We were.
Yeah, with Dr. Ron Charles. And of course, hey, I've heard about the Kiefer Sutherland thing for many years. People would walk up and, hey, want an autograph. And I still don't quite see it, but hey, I'm honored. But people in Egypt thought you were Hulk Hogan.
Well, that's because I look so much like him, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
The white handlebar mustache and I make large presence.
Yeah, the muscles,
The muscles and the girth and the width. And I'm a big personality if I'm not anything else. Yeah, I take up space.
Well, Woody, meeting you right off the bat, just such a warm, funny guy, and we were going there to a dangerous place that honestly, you don't always know what's going to happen. We were going to go help the widows and the orphans there in Garbage City in Cairo, Egypt. And their current president's incredible, man. And he was very accommodating to help us with some detail there as we were going through. And, being the first group in over 1,000 years to openly minister to the persecuted church there was a huge, huge deal. And you've known Ron Charles for a long time, but he was very excited for you to be on this last trip. And it's so wonderful because they loved you. Our main contacts there loved you faster than anyone that Ron has ever seen. And it just made me so happy, man. But a life-changing trip. But as we allude to that every once in a while, Woody, man, you sing, you play instruments, you speak, you preach. What do you not do, bro?
I try not to do yard work. Even though I have to break down and do it anyway, I try not to do that. We all have our own giftings, and you have to learn about one thing the Bible says, and so many people overlook it. It says that a man should know himself.
Right.
And whatever things you can do those things as unto the Lord. Give it your best. Give it all that you can. It doesn't mean you'll be like someone else, because you can't be.
Right.
I mean, there's nobody that can be me. I'm the only me there is. Nobody can be Brent. Right. You've had hundreds of drummers play for you. but the first time that we're in Egypt and I got on drums and played for you, your wife started crying, saying, Brent's finally found a drummer. Now,
I know.
That's what I'm saying. Now, the church was wonderful, and those people were actually moved by your talents and your giftings. They actually joined in. They're wanting us to come back, and that's a wonderful thing. But it's when men and women of God just be who you are. Don't try to be someone else.
Right.
Don't be envious. Don't be covetous. Just be who you are, and there'll always be a place for you.
Wow, that's a big statement. And you know what, Woody? I mean, you renewed my hope in a lot of preachers. Not everyone has had positive preacher experience.
Oh, but we could do 5 episodes on positive preacher experience. with that's, I mean, but what the, but some of what happens is that we sometimes get a certain idea, right, and then the enemy will actually twist that idea even worse and make it worse. Remember that even in the Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve were there, Satan came in just to twist things.
Yeah.
Not to really change things. He twisted it. Wow. So that all of a sudden, a man and woman who had good communication with the Lord, all of a sudden didn't have good communication because of a question. Did the Lord really say that? Mm-hmm. Well, that, and sometimes even when we have a bad experience, and people have had them, if we're not careful, the enemy will come in and make it worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not called to follow one particular man. I'm called to follow Jesus.
Right.
And so Paul says something. He says, "Follow me as I follow the Lord." And there's been a lot of men that I've seen their failure and I've seen their shortcomings and had to say, you know what? I'm not following them. I'm following Jesus. And what did this experience have me to know more about Jesus? Maybe I need to forgive them. Maybe I need to kind of disassociate from them and go on another way. That's not wrong.
Wow.
But I have to be careful and not let the enemy make it worse in me than it really happened to me.
Wow.
And that's not easy. And that's a process. And I don't minimize anything that people have to do to go through their processes. Mm-hmm. But we have to be careful. Most people don't try to be in the ministry to harm people. They're right. Kind of like doctors.
Right.
There's doctors who have had that went wrong, and so the family
malpractice, right?
Not malpractice. Most doctors didn't do it on purpose. It was a human flaw. It was an accident. It was a shortcoming. When we get around other people, we can't let their shortcomings determine our relationship and our walk with Jesus.
That's good.
Now I may have to disconnect and dissociate from that relationship because I don't need it dragging me down.
Right.
But I don't need to let it be an excuse to be further from Jesus. That's what Lucifer tries to do, is give you an excuse to be further from Jesus.
That's really good. You know, a lot of your sound bites, if you will, your brilliant son, Adam, puts on TikTok. And I really encourage everybody to subscribe, if you will, like, if you will. Sure. Is it Woody Robinson on TikTok?
I think it's W.A. Robinson, I think.
Okay. Good deal. Well, you know, Woody, what I appreciate so much about you, you're very passionate. You're very gifted. You have an incredible story that we'll get into. But as far as loving people, man, when I see someone who is the real deal, and don't get me wrong, folks, I'm not the ultimate judge of who's real and not. I don't get into that.
He is the ultimate judge, and I've been around him long enough, and he does a great job at it. Yes, he is.
Well, it's just so nice to see you love on people and to see people immediately open their hearts to you and love you. And of course, you know, man, where do you start? I mean, people will know you as different things depending on, you know, where you are. Some people know me as a radio guy or a musician or a TV producer or a interviewer or whatever. I'm just one thing. I'm an encourager.
Right.
But your talents, Woody, they really are amazing. I'm so excited that people will be able to see you on GLC. And of course, you know, you are a pastor. You're a pastor's pastor. But tell us about your church where you preach, in addition to all the traveling and speaking that you do.
Well, right now I am the lead pastor at a small church on the southeast side of Dallas called Rock of Ages.
Awesome.
My parents and I started it back in 1986.
Wow.
We're still on the same property that we were. We're just as genuine as you can be. We're still in a neighborhood that everybody goes to work and struggling every week just to get by, but we're there proclaiming the gospel. My mom, who is 76, is still there and plays the organ and does some teaching and does some preaching and praying and prophesying. And my son Adam is coming up in the ministry, and we just have a close-knit group of people that just love the Lord, and we just love people. And then on top of that, I have an itinerary that I travel throughout different states. And then, of course, with opportunities with Dr. Ron Charles,
Right.
our friend and archaeologist and researcher and great man of God. There's also been opportunities to go out of the country.
Wow.
And that's been my honor. And then I got to meet you. And so that was even better.
I'm blessed, brother, for meeting you. My gosh.
But what we find is that when people are touched by a song or by something that we preached or something that we said,
right,
it touches our heart because it lets us know that all the years of practice, all the years of dedication weren't in vain.
Right.
Weren't in vain. And you never can minimize what one moment does in a person.
Right.
You can't minimize their experience. And my heart breaks when other people become too prideful and they forget maybe what we would call, you forgot where you came from. Well, that's not you. That's not me. That's not the kind of people we like to associate with, because we've all been there and we've all had to call on the Lord, and we've all had times with tears streaming down our face, and we had to wipe them off and go to work and wipe them off and go to church anyway and wipe off the tears and get back at it.
Right.
And so it is a honor to be able to touch somebody's heart, because there's moments that other people touched our hearts along the way.
Right.
Like when you came to my church and you began to just play and sing worship, and you went from song to song to song. So many of the people in the congregation said, "Oh, I haven't heard that song in a while," and "Oh, that song ministered to me." And there's people in the audience, just tears streaming down their face. You cannot minimize a person's experience, because we all connect to the Lord at a different level and different time. But when he is revealed, you have to capitalize on that and say, "Hey, I'm happy that whatever I did helped you get in touch with the Lord." Wow. Whatever I'm, because all we're doing is we're providing the background. We're just providing the place. And when they have that moment, it's not about me. And I know you, it's not about you. It's about him.
That's right.
It's about him. And because when people get to the end of the day, "Hey, what did you learn hanging out with Brant?" It's like, Brant loves Jesus. If somebody asked me if you could tell me one thing about Brant, I said, Brant loves Jesus. Yeah, but can he play piano? He can, but Brant loves Jesus above everything. No, man, I mean, I just, look, you don't spend 7 days in Egypt with somebody and you don't learn who they really are. Yeah. You don't go across the globe and go through the things that we went through and not find out who somebody is. And at the end of the day, if we say we're Christians, at the end of the day, the one thing, if people said one thing about you, they ought to say he loved Jesus or she loved Jesus.
What more could you ask for than for someone to be able to say that about you? I'm beyond moved and honored about that. You know, Jesus is real, and he's my life. And he's yours, Woody. I mean, my goodness, you almost went to meet him.
Oh, yeah, I did. Well, in 2008, I was in a car accident, and I died at the scene of the car accident. Wow. And then my stepdaughter at the time was on the phone with my wife at the time, said he's dead. And then all of a sudden, a lady with no shoes on walked up and put her hand on my stepdaughter's shoulders and said, he'll be okay. And then all of a sudden, I started making noises. I was not conscious yet until another 5 days later. I was in LSU hospital in intensive care for 5 days. They were watching for a blood clot that was around my heart the size of a football. And on day 3, they were worried that blood clot had burst and it was draining into my body and I was bleeding internally. But then they finally came to my wife at the time and said, he had a blood clot for 2 days as big as a football, and now we can't find it. We don't have a medical explanation. See, sometimes we get mad. Sometimes some Christians minimize medical field. They're not trying to be against your faith. They're telling you what they see.
Right.
And so when they told my wife at the time, he's got a blood clot around his heart as big as a football, my friends prayed. My minister friends prayed. They prayed for my heart. They prayed for that blood clot.
Right.
Now, on day 3, the medical community could not find it. Now, they don't have an answer. I don't have to come up with an answer. Medically,
if you're alive and well, and
medically, they said it was there. On day 3, they said it's gone. Then they said his other problem is going to be his brain. He's got traumatic brain injury. He may not never be the same. He may never talk. He may never be an adult again. And that's questionable. I'm a big kid. I mean, I know that. But the Lord has put some wonderful people in my life. I continued to go to brain therapy over the last, what is it now? 2008, 2021. I continue to go through that therapy. I continue to work on the processes that help me get by. I surround people with people who watch over me and say, hey, your brain's getting tired. Or I've wrestled with migraines that I was in the house for 4 days straight. I've wrestled with pain that I don't know how to even describe. I've had dizzy spells. I've overcome a lot of things by the grace of God, and it'll still be a process, but I constantly want to be moving forward. I continually want to say that if the Lord saved my life and I'm still on this planet, then he's not done with me.
No, he's not. And not only did you recover from that, and I know there's issues that you just mentioned, but to be as gifted of an orator, as a musician, as a singer, and I don't know if you were as funny now as you were then, but I tell you what, man, you're the funniest guy I know.
Yes, I've always been funny, but it's situational. I'm not the kind of comedian that sit around and write jokes. I'm the guy you want to take with you everywhere. And something's going to happen, and then I'm going to be on it like a rat on a Cheeto. And then we're all going to be laughing, and I'm going to look at you and say, "Don't blow coke out your nose. Don't blow that out your nose."
Well, I've got footage of you doing interpretive dance in the front seat as we're being driven around in Egypt. And of course, the picture of you in the Pharaoh hat.
I mean, that's classic. I mean, sometimes you just got to be Pharaoh.
You know what though? Just as Jesus is really supernatural and supernaturally real, that's what I see in you, Woody, is I see Jesus all over you. You minister to me personally in moments there in Egypt. And I tell you what, the only good thing about me is God and my wife.
That's true. That's true.
I know.
All right. Yeah.
And I don't mind saying that, but if you don't have grace, you can't show it. And you know what it's like to show grace and to really appreciate it too. You have a way with someone who's never gone to church, someone who's never heard a message. You can speak their language just as well as you can deliver. There's something that is, there's such a thing as the art of preaching. It's an art.
It is.
And I'm telling you what, Woody, I've ran with some of the greatest preachers of our time, led worship with them and such. Man, you're at the top of that. And you just have such a gift. And I love that because it also reminds me of Jesus, who could talk to the scholar, and confound their so-called wisdom. And yet he can also talk to the leper on the street, or talk to those who couldn't read yet, and tell his parables and his stories. And there's a reason why he was invited to the parties of the sinners. He was loved and he was likable. And I just see those attributes in you as well, Woody. And what would you have to say to people right now? I've been saying lately that if you know Jesus and you do not fear death and you do not fear the opinions of man, then you're going to flourish during times like these. I'm flourishing during these times in every way. I'm not afraid because we read about these times, but there's people watching right now, Woody. They're afraid and they're concerned and they don't know what the answers are. And the church hadn't had a whole lot to say during COVID, but guys like you have had plenty to say.
Guys like me do. I've got a lot of things to say. Here's what Jesus said. In this world, you will have tribulations.
Right.
You'll have troubles. You'll have problems. You'll have as small as the car breakdown to maybe some type of, governmental change. You will have tribulation in this world. It's what Jesus said. Then he said, but be of good cheer, because I have overcome the world. Now, it doesn't mean we don't have to go through it. It just means, what does Paul say? I can get through this because I have Jesus living in me. I'm going to get through this. A lot of people talk about grace, and it's always in the context of the forgiveness of my shortcomings. And I appreciate that part of grace, but the Bible said that Jesus was full of grace and truth, and Jesus didn't sin, so he didn't need grace to cover his sin and his shortcomings.
Right.
Grace is empowerment to do what Jesus would do in that situation. You have the grace from God. You have the abilities. You have the anointing. You have the Holy Spirit gracing you. You and I have been around some fantastic musicians in our lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, man, they just have this gift. If we would see grace as the gifting, as the empowerment, not just the covering for the shortcoming.
Wow.
I've been given the grace of God not to do less for the Lord, but to do more for him.
Wow.
Sometimes people make the mention, the least I could do for the Lord. Why don't you put the least aside, and why don't you try to do the most for the Lord?
That's right.
He's done the most. He did the most he can for you. He didn't do the least.
Right.
He did the most. So
he sure did, didn't he?
Right. So how about we take it? Wait a minute. I want to do the most for him. I want his grace to not just cover my shortcomings. I want him to give me the grace to be the encourager that I need to be. I want the grace to be the influence that I need to be. I want people to be around me and say, it was good that I was around you today. You made my day better. Now, that doesn't prop me up. It props up the Lord, because I'm like, look, that's only because of the Lord. That's because what lives in me is coming out of me. That's why people who were in trouble wanted to be around Jesus.
Right.
He wasn't a complainer. He wasn't always worried about everything. He wasn't a doom and gloomer. Jesus was like, I came to give you life and give you life more abundantly. Are you sick? Then let's get you healed. Are you struggling? Let's get you feel better. You know what? Nicodemus, do you want to talk about the law? Let's go talk about the law. Zacchaeus, you're short, but I'll still come see you anyway.
I love it.
Right. People wanted to be around Jesus because Jesus encouraged them to move in the best direction possible, which is living their life for the Lord.
Wow. Well, he saw the greatness in people. He ignited that greatness. And that's all.
Him.
Yeah.
He created us in his image. Why don't we act like him?
Well, you know what, man? You got the Spirit of Jesus all over you. I love it. I love who you are. And again, just incredibly gifted. And people are going to get to see that different facets of that diamond that is Woody Robinson. You're also a great golfer too, man.
Well, I you know what? I'm something on the golf course.
You and your buddy, Pastor Jeremy Sutton, who's going to be on Word on the Street as well. And he's got a great church, Life House, in Odessa area. And of course, they're
Midland. He's
in Midland. Okay. Yeah, but they're coming from Odessa and Midland for a lot of reasons. They're also seeing him on GLC. And the good thing about television is they get to know you before they actually decide to come visit you. And same thing with you, Woody. We're
about to get set up. We're about to get up and running. We're excited. The church is excited. We've actually got some people who have been started the training to do the editing and to do cameras and try to make me look reasonable and use the thinning cameras and the, good headshots and stuff like that. So,
well, you look sharp, but you
thank you, sir.
You deliver really well. And now, if people want to book you for the times that you are available to travel, how would they get in touch with you?
The email is warobinson6767@gmail.com. And just get a hold of me and we'll discuss all the ins and outs of what I require, which are hilarious. Like if you'll take me to Burger King, or if there's a Wendy's around, if I can get a Frosty, I'm pretty happy the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And if there's a golf course,
even better.
It's even better.
Well, you're very gifted at what you do. Woody, I haven't known you long enough to know what your theme is. Some people have a theme to them, Jesus in you, as you. Some people really love to preach about grace. Some people are it's about encouragement, and some people are about being a warrior in times like these. What's the most dominant message and theme in your life during these crazy times?
Pointing people to Jesus.
Yeah.
My faith is not in faith. My faith is not in government. My faith is not in my firearms. Right. My faith is in Jesus. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't have firearms. It doesn't mean that I don't participate in government. We should. Right. Be a participant. If you're griping about the president, you better have voted for the mayor.
Oh, no kidding. That's a good point.
Don't gripe about the president if you haven't even voted for your state senator, because you're just griping and complaining. Put your focus on Jesus, and are you being Jesus where you are?
Right.
Are you being his representative? Everybody's like, well, I can't be Jesus. You can be his child.
Yeah.
We all say that we're child of the Lord. We're children. The Lord doesn't have any grandkids. He just got kids. Well, then I need to start acting like my daddy. When I go to work, act like my daddy. When I'm at home, act like my daddy. When I'm out on the golf course, people better know by the end of the day, hey, there's something about him. He's an encourager. He loves the Lord. He doesn't say certain things. He doesn't participate in certain ways. There's just things I do different. Mm-hmm. I don't put anybody down, but I point people to Jesus. And if we put our faith in Jesus, if we start being his representative wherever we are, then people get their attention on Jesus and they gets it off of us.
You know what? He is the only thing that makes sense.
Right.
He is our life, the way, our truth, our life, our identity. Folks, when you base your identity and your faith on the unchangeable, the unshakable, the unbreakable, and that's Jesus, man, life is a gift. And every day is another day to live the mission, another day to encourage people, another day to ignite the greatness in others. But you can't give what you ain't got.
Even if it's not easy.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes
you know what? It's worth it, isn't it?
But it's worth it.
You know what? That's a good word. It's worth it. Follow Jesus. That's a word, Woody Robinson today. That's a word.
That's right. Brand on the keyboard. There you go.
Oh, we're going to show some of that as well.
We got to do some of that.
We will. And Jesus is the word on the street.
Yes, he is.
Get to know him today, folks. Such a pleasure. Our first of many times with Woody Robinson.
You, my friend. So good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for being on the show.
You got it.
See you next time.
Thank you, Brent.